Business ownership is just genuinely not for everyone. I came home and I was like, hey, hun, I'm gonna start a roofing company. Basically what I told her is we're jumping into this pit that we don't know anything about, and we're just gonna have to figure it out.
We're with Cody Clinger. He is the owner, founder of CCX Roofing. They're rapidly growing.
I've done construction since I was like 13. We started 1 or 2 roofs here and there, got those under our belt, had to start running a crew. That first year, I mean, I was roofing on the roof for 4 years.
With us hitting winter months where production tends to go down, how have you been able to survive?
We diversified in that regard so that in those winter months where we can't actually do any roofing, that we are still pulling in revenue from the other profit centers.
Homeowners spend hundreds of thousands on their homes. So when someone says yes to one thing, you can get them to say yes to 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 things.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of our work does come from past customers. We might have done their roof last year and they needed their siding done this year. That said though, you have to toe a very specific line. If you profess to do everything, then you're non-referable.
I mean, it sounds like there's a gold rush in home improvement right now. So how do you position yourself? Maybe it comes down to training and hiring properly.
If you want high quality results, pay people enough to do a job right and always be finding that high caliber individual.
Most people will think short term, but you want to think in decades.
We had to be thinking about what's going to hit us on the horizon in 10 years. If we're going to make decisions, if we're going to accomplish goals, we need to be growth minded and making decisions that are long-term decisions.
Roofing is one of the highest paid labor professions. What is the average income for a roofer?
A skilled roofer can be making easily.
Newsbreak is the fastest growing local news app in the United States with over 50 million monthly and 16 million daily users checking in throughout the day. When you sign up, the Newsbreak team reaches out with white glove service to get you onboarded and making money right away. Up to $5,000 in matching ad credits, quick account approvals, and dedicated account management to help you find early success. To learn more and sign up, check out the link in the description below. Don't waste time. Sign up now and let's fucking go. Guys, another good episode on the way on the LFG Show. Listen, LFG Show isn't just about internet marketing. It's about making money in different ways, whether it's online, whether it's traditional. And we're talking about roofing right now. And I'm super excited. I've talked about this before. You know, we're in an economy right now where it's almost 2 economies going on, right? You got the wealthy getting wealthier than ever. Then you got the working class blue collar people. They're having a hard time right now. And what I love about the home improvement and roofing side is that it's one of those industries where, man, if you got and you correct me if I'm wrong, Cody, but it's one of those industries where if you got the gumption, you got the persistence and the know-how, and you're willing to hustle, you can make a good living. Whether you own the company or whether you work for a company that's moving in the right direction. So I'm excited to have you on the show. We're with Cody Clinger. He is the owner, founder of CCX Roofing. They're rapidly growing. I'm really pumped up to have you on the show. And he's an Eagles fan. Go Birds.
Hello, Birds.
What did you think about what I said? I know I started this off a little bit different, but we're in a crazy time right now. Stock market's hitting all-time highs, crypto's all really high, and I feel like you hear. I mean, look at that. You think the economy's doing good, but most people are struggling out there, and I feel like one of those bastions of hope where people can get a high-paying job, or they can start a business where they can do really well. And don't get me, nothing's easy, but roofing's one of those. I mean, you agree with that? What's your whole feedback and everything I just said?
I can probably speak for almost all of us when I say that, back when we were in school, your parents told you go to college, you'll get finish your degree, graduate, and then you'll make money, right?
Yeah, 100%. That was the blueprint.
That was the mantra, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a high school graduate, so that wasn't my mantra. So my advice would be, go learn a trade, become really freaking good at it, be the best in your trade, and work really hard. I really think that you'll be rewarded if you work hard. You can pretty much do anything out there. There's so many different ways to make money. There really, really are. But I see a lot of people wanting to make money, but then they just don't act on things. They'll like sit there and read the books. They'll sit there and learn all they can about it. But then they're sitting there. They're not actively doing it. And when I started my roofing company, I went to my mom and I was like, "Hey, mom, I'm going to start my roofing company." And she was like, "Are you sure you want to do that? Do you know
How long ago was this? How long ago was this, by the way?
It was 8 years ago.
Okay.
8 years ago, I talked to her and I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to start a roofing company." She's like, "Have you ever roofed a house?" I was like, "Not personally. I've contracted jobs to roof houses and stuff." And she goes, "Man, I wish you luck." And I'm like, "Here we go."
So
This takes grit, Dave. just takes grit. You gotta dig in. You gotta get it done. You gotta work.
So what made you decide roofing? Like, where were you in your life? I mean, obviously you said you graduated high school, right? So you didn't go to college, right? So what did you? What was that moment
So
like? Fuck,
yeah,
I gotta do something.
little history about me. I went to high school, of course. Then after high school, sold insulation on rebate for a company for a while, and did okay for that. I've always had a gift in sales. And then after that, served a mission for my church. And then after that, came back and worked for a restoration company for 5 years and ran restoration. So work on insurance work, anything from small drywall patches to full commercial construction in that 5 year period. So large workload. And some unfinished promises, just things didn't really pan out with that company. And I was just like, I know how to do all this stuff. A hailstorm hit a nearby town where we live in 2018. And I just started seeing these claims come in and they were rapidly coming in. And so I was like, you know what? We're going to do this. So we started one or two roofs here and there. Got those under our belt, had to start running a crew. Was familiar with running a crew. I've done construction since I was like 13. So it, it's always been easy for me, but just a lot of grit. That first year, I mean, I was roofing on the roof for four years, like physically on the roof, and then grew from there and had to get out of the roof and in an office. So
And this is Idaho,
uh,
correct? Or where was it?
yes, this Southeast Idaho, North Utah.
Yeah, and the weather conditions, obviously. I mean, probably. I don't know. I'm not. I know roofing from selling leads, but I know that when it's under
Yeah.
40, you can't, on 40 degrees, you can't install the roof, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a gray area in the industry for sure. In Idaho, we roof all year long, all winter, and so sometimes there's days where we're roofing when it's colder than 40. My manufacturers probably wouldn't want me to say that, but it's just true. Got to get the job done. So, I mean, there's tricks that we do, and you got to turn the pressure down on the gun, make sure that things are, installed properly. We don't have less quality just because it's winter. I mean, you can't sacrifice quality ever. So I think that's actually been a massive proponent of our success is that we we just refuse to do bad work. You got to do good work.
You get the job done.
Better work.
So yeah, let's talk about this. So I obviously I have a company called Home Direct Marketing. We work with some of the biggest home improvement companies in the nation, some big roofing companies that are doing some pretty big numbers. And one of they drop budgets starting like around Thanksgiving time through December, and then January comes up a little bit, but then it picks up in February, right? So their whole thing is that, and I think because they're dealing a good chunk of their business is like the Northeast, those areas. So and from Ed, my partner in lead gen business, who also he's in roofing as well. He says that the big issue, obviously, you have your peak season, right? But during those off seasons, and I don't know, it sounds like you guys just keep going. But obviously, what I'm trying to say is that with any business, you got to look at your cost, right? You got to look at your cost, and it's not what you make top lines. What do you keep? So with the this probably will resonate with a lot of roofers out there. With us hitting November, December, January, February, these winter months where production tends to go down. How have you been able to survive, and what are your tricks to keep things going?
So we in our second year of doing business, we realized that yeah, you're definitely right, Dave. That I mean, when the temperatures start dropping, it's incredibly difficult to continue to roof. I mean, and some days it's absolutely impossible to roof. It's you got 2 feet of snow on the ground. You're not gonna you're not gonna keep roofing in 2 feet of snow. It's just not prudent. So it does sometimes halt the work. And when we noticed that it halted the work, we had to add different profit centers to my company. And so we are a full exterior contractor. We do roofing, siding, and gutters, and we do brick, block, stone, stucco. Anyway, there we're diversified in that regard, so that in those winter months where we can't actually do any roofing, that we are still pulling in revenue from the other profit centers that exist in the company. I think a lot of it has to do with repeat customers, making sure that you can groom relationships with appropriate customers that have repeat service. So like restoration companies, property management companies, just various different repeat services. That's helped us a ton.
Yeah, so you squeeze more juice, and it makes sense. I was talking to someone earlier. One way that we started a company back in 2016 that's Solar Direct Marketing. We were one of the top lead generators for solar companies, And one thing that I noticed in solar, I think, which was a problem, and maybe there's less of it on your side of the pond, is that it was like almost like one and done. It was almost just a sales horse trying to get panels installed in people's homes. And the problem was that there really wasn't much customer service or thought afterwards, after we install the panels, what's going to happen? How do we keep these customers happy? And they just move on to the next one, to the next one. And as a result, high cancel rates, 30, 50% cancel rates, right? I mean, and a lot of these companies, yeah, they already paid out their sales reps. The sales rep may have quit and they never got paid on the full thing, or someone can't, like, disaster, right? So I always thought, yeah, I always thought that once you're in with a homeowner, right, there's a lot of trust. Homeowners spend hundreds of thousands on their homes in a lifetime of being in a home. So once you're in there, once someone says yes to one thing, you can get them to say yes to two, three, four, five, 10 things, as long as something adds value, right? So I always thought that that's one thing that most solar companies, I think 95% missed, right? So it sounds like you have other ancillary products or services that you're offering to homeowners to not only just help you during those down periods, but at the end of the day to provide value and help the company keep growing.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of our work does come from past customers. We might have done their roof last year and they needed their siding done this year. And same with like gutters and gutter cleaning and, leaf filters and things like that, just add to that gross revenue and then ultimately to the bottom line. So yeah.
Got
Yeah, it definitely helps to have other things to be able to offer rather than just one service. That said though, you have to toe a very specific line. If you profess to do everything, then you're non-referable. Does that make sense? Like, oh, that's that contractor over there. He'll do anything for money.
Yeah.
So anyone in this, like, we live in a small town, and when you look at that from that perspective, you got, your neighbors that own a brick company or whatever, or you got a stucco guy that's like, well, I'm not going to refer that company because they do stucco. We ultimately, in their mind, we become competitors, but we just don't look at it that way. But definitely, not necessarily everything, but specifically a niche. So in our particular instance, it's roofing, siding, and gutters. And so that's been incredibly helpful for us to float those winters, make it through some of those harder months, and and then just be ready. Your scheduling has to be on point. If you get a week of really good weather, and you're not ready to capitalize on that week of really good weather, then you just lost an entire week of profitability. Like, you can't accept that. That's it's not a profitable company if you can't strike when the iron's hot. So
Yeah, so how do you position yourself for that? Because I'm sure maybe that's a lesson you learned from missing out, right, on some of those opportunities. So and again,
yeah.
I don't know how it is where you're at, but I feel like this, and maybe it comes down to training and hiring properly. But it sounds like, it feels like we're in a society where people are flakier than ever, right? So you got to rely on the team being there. So how do you work with that?
There are basically three things that a client will hate or love you for, and it is number one, timely execution, number two, cleanliness, and number three, the expectations being met. Right? We just got back from a training in Baltimore. We train every day in this company. It's really important. We keep stats of our growth. We keep, and those growth and or those stats are centered around executing client expectations properly. And so what's interesting is when you focus there, you don't have to worry about what you're going to sleep. If you're going to wake up to money tomorrow,
Mhm.
you're not gonna worry, because if you're executing appropriate expectations with your clients, and if they're happy, you'll just have repeat service. You just will. Word gets out, and it gets out fast. It might seem like a long time. 5 years down the road might seem like a long time, but it grows quickly. But you have to build those good relationships. You can't just be like, oh, f that client, they suck. That's just not how you have to be. Every single client's got to be a home run every single time. So that is a really good question, Dave. I mean, we could spend some serious time talking about how do you make sure that you strike when the iron's hot? I mean, we're not saying that CCX is perfect in striking when the iron's hot, but we definitely do really well in our scheduling aspect and making sure the communication to clients is met, making sure that our expectations that are in our scope of works are met, as well as our time frames are met appropriately. Those are the three key indicating aspects of what we focus on to make sure our clients are happy.
I could imagine being in a small town, right, and growing your business in a small town. It cuts both ways. When things are good, word's going to travel fast. But when things are bad, it's going to travel faster, right? So I like that you mentioned cleanliness. I didn't even think about that, but that's true. I think it sounds like you guys have a good attention to detail, and Yeah, I mean, I could tell you if someone came to our home and I mean, I probably wouldn't know as much my wife, but that would piss my wife off, right? Like, what the hell, man? They live in, and yeah, and I ran a call center in South Carolina. We had contracts with utility companies around the nation, all sorts of different gas, water, electric, and we had a campaign in Cleveland, and the reps had to wear booties before they went into the installers had to wear booties before they went in their home to change out the water meter, usually in the basement, and now I didn't understand, like, on a good day, why but it's true, like, don't even leave any marks on there, like, whatever, your those little details go a long way, right? Don't be bulletproof, right? So, they remind me of that because that's one way we won contracts, that we had these checkpoints, which I imagine you do as well, it sounds like, and you had to stick with those checklists, and that helped you beat out the competition, and word traveled
Yeah.
better.
When you're a small company, it's easier to control, right? You're the guy. It's you on the roof. So your client communication's perfect. Your execution of cleanliness can be perfect and things like that. So when you start small, like at the very beginning of starting, yeah, execute it perfectly. Try to be as disciplined as you can. As you grow, only add people to the team that actually follow those core tenets of your company. So CCX has core values and and there's a few of them. But the first three that we started with were quality, forward thinking, and growth. Those were the first three that we started with. And and we'll die on those tenets. I mean, that's what you'll bleed on, you'll lose money on those three tenets. If that's what we've agreed on, we will agree to lose money on quality, growth, and forward thinking. And there are others. There's accountability and integrity, and then CCX actually stands for committed, consistent excellence. I also don't babysit my people. We're adults. At the end of the day, if they're going to get their job done right, then they're going to get paid for it. If they're not, they're going to go find another place to work. So there's a lot to that. Lots of it is just training. Lots of it is just training, and you can't jump over. Also, just people want to be treated kindly. They want to be treated right, and I believe in being free with all of your substance and your gain. If you're free with them with your substance and your gain, they will give you back more. And when you do that, you just find so much amazing loyalty. And so we're like, for instance, my estimator, like, his nickname is Tom Brady. Like, that guy will take his jersey off his back to make it so that someone else in this team grows. And that's what we try to find when we go to interview people. We're looking for people with that team spirit, that drive to grow. Quality is a big proponent in their life, and they're forward thinker and those things. So I don't know, there's a lot more to that, but those are some really, really, really important things. And a lot of it has to do with the people and how you treat them. And they will then in turn treat your clients with that same respect.
I love it. One of the things we say on the show, and I profess all the time, is that success leaves clues. And we are talking earlier about, I mean, it sounds like there's a gold rush, right, in home improvement right now, and different subcategories: roofing, HVAC, pest control, some subcategories, siding as well. But it's not as simple as just saying, "Hey, I'm going to start a roofing company one day," or "You go work somewhere." There's so many other parts of the equation that people don't talk about. So I love this. You have your core values, and the trading is, I think, one of the key the tenets of why you guys have been successful, and laying out those expectations, right, clear and proper expectations. What percentage of what do you? I mean, maybe it's hard to say, but you have to estimate what percentage of roofing companies you think have those that kind of blueprint that you have out there.
I think that I actually read a stat recently, and I think it's less than five. You're going to receive exactly back what your expectations are for your people. So I was told that if you have low expectations for people, then that's what you're going to get back from them. If you have high expectations for people, you're going to receive that back from them. So, and I think there's a lot of tradesmen that they're like, well, either they don't believe that there's a better person out there to find the job, or they or they just think that they're good enough in that position, so they're just complacent and leave them there. But then that just leads to complacent results, right? If you want high quality results, pay people enough to do a job right. Number one, and that's incredibly important. And number two, always be finding that high quality, high caliber individual. And what's interesting is in my trade, I mean, I'm a roofer. Like it's a very blue collar trade. So when I interview people and they see me go through this enormous interview process and they're like, dude, I'm interviewing for a roofing company. I'm like, yeah, this isn't your chuck in a truck roofing company, man.
Uh,
We just don't do things like a chuck in a truck operation. It just doesn't work like that. So, you can weed through them pretty quick. You're gonna find the wheat through the tares. It's pretty simple. You just you can't be complacent with mediocrity. You know, if you want if you want amazing results, if you want growth, if you want quality, if you want to be continuously wowing your clients and things like that, you can't be content with mediocrity.
That's great. I'm glad that you said that. Those are sometimes underlooked or underthought, and people maybe don't think about those kind of things enough. And what I was going to ask you too, related to this, is that there's a lot of private equity money flowing into home improvement, roofing in particular. A lot of people that start off just, like you, maybe by themselves, right, and then they grew into dozens or hundreds of employees or people on their team getting bought out for big multiples, right? But there's certain elements of that, right? And that get you there. It's not as simple as saying, I'm gonna start a roofing company and then boom, it happens. So like when was the turning point for you where you realized, because it sounds like you have processes in place and all these other things, like what made you, like, what was it, year one, year two, year three, and what led to you realizing I need to, if I'm gonna grow, I assume there was a pain point or something, right? Where like maybe you're just yeah. Let's talk about it, because I feel like that's what people need to hear again, from here to there.
First year, we did $420,000 in sales first year, and it was labor only. Labor only. So we realized our first crux that we had to tackle is appropriate estimating.
Mhm.
In my history, and back when I was running a restoration company for that previous 5 years, I knew how to estimate. So I hired an estimator and trained him how to estimate and taught him the art of estimating, if you will. And that was kind of the first step to starting our own actual job. So previous that first year, we did a lot of subcontracted work with other contractors,
Mhm.
and that was great. I mean, there's a lot of success there. And in fact, a lot of times I'm like, man, I sure wish I still had some of those contracts just to kind of fall back on. So I think there's a little bit of a little breadcrumb there for your growth, that keep those contractors basically forever, because you're going to want them later. But the next step was to get out and sell, right? So as we estimated our own jobs, I had to get out of the labor aspect of it and started going out and estimating and selling and interfacing with the clients. And so that put me in the office. And so starts the journey of hiring appropriate people for the right job, right? You can't just hire at any pulse. You have to hire someone that actually knows what they're doing, which means you have to price properly in your estimates. And your estimates, if your estimates are going out too low, you're not going to be able to pay your guys well enough to actually do the job. And so understanding the market it's an incredibly hard task to do, but you can pay attention, gather all the other estimates. I mean, I would pay clients to give me estimates to reference, so that I could use them as a benchmark to understand what my competitors were doing. And the reality is, it didn't matter as much about what they were doing. We played our own game, but we just at least wanted to know where's normal, right? How far above normal are we? And so we kept doing that. So that second year, though, we got hit by enormous amounts of snow in that winter, and I we call it breaking the car. Every time we grow, we break the car. So that first year, we broke the car on that first winter storm, where we didn't have a backlog of roofing. And it's interesting. There's two sides of a backlog. There's the lack of organization to actually get the job done before you had a backlog, and then there's the capacity for additional growth. Like, you do want a backlog, but if you have an enormous backlog, that's not evidence of a good roofer. It's just evidence of a poor planner. So we had to balance that backlog. We had to balance that work coming into the winter, and that winter storm shot us right, shot us pretty bad. So that year we started in deciding, and so that was a huge crux for us, because then I had to get back in the field. And when you're trudging knee deep in the snow installing siding as the owner of the company who was just in the office, you start thinking, man, be really nice if my guy was doing this. So more and more hiring, always constantly hiring. We have a hiring sign on almost all of our trucks almost all the time. And hiring and recruiting is a big deal. So that was year two, learning hiring and recruiting. Coming into year three, we saw some pretty significant growth, but the biggest aspect of that growth was pushing into additional sales. So when you first you first start selling, you're only selling a roof or you're only selling siding. We decided that year 3, we would focus significantly on selling not only roofing and siding, but also the full exterior of the house. And so we advertised that we did, and we started pushing for that. Our gross revenue went up. Our gross profit went down a little bit. And what we found was that as we added profit centers without organization in the back end, you're not going to be more profitable,
Mm.
right? So interestingly enough, we went, oh, that kind of sucked. And it was good though. I mean, we were profitable and we were doing really well, but we were more profitable the previous year. And so that third year came into a lot of growth. So 420 or something, whatever I said, 460,000 that first year. Second year was 1.6 million. Third year was 2.7 million. And so we're rapidly growing, and a lot of that has to do with ad flow and making sure that you hire appropriate marketers to get yourself out on the web. That's really important. But as we grew and as we hit these new and different crux points in the journey, I guess we're just paying attention to the horizon, because I think that it's really easy to get caught up doing the right here and right now moment of work. But I think if you could say that the nutshell of like first 4 years of my business is we knew constantly that we were gonna be. I had set a goal at the very beginning of my company that I was gonna be 10 million in year 4,
Mhm.
and or in year 5, and we hit it. So when you're looking at the horizon instead of looking at what's right in front of your face, you don't crash into what's right in front of your face. And so we had to look at all of our decisions had to be made based on long term growth and long term avenues of opportunity. So we didn't do anything or add anything to the company that wasn't gonna be there for 10 years. So as we grew the company, we had a year 5 came in, we started adding sales reps to the mix. There was some learning in that regard. As you add sales reps, you get different personalities, a different culture in the company, meaning that we needed a sales manager. And when you add a sales manager, you also need more project managers and project coordinators. A lot of the company structure was more or less copied from my previous employer until I learned how to do it myself. And then from there grew it. So there's a lot, and it might sound like a mixed bag, but where we're at now is a lot better than we were before, and a lot of it had to do with just we had to be thinking about what's going to hit us on the horizon in 10 years. If we're going to make decisions, if we're going to accomplish goals, we need to be growth minded and making decisions that are long term decisions, not just short term, hey, fix it right now real quick decisions. So took more time and it was a lot harder, but it worked.
Ringba is the leading inbound call tracking and analytics platform for marketers, brands, and pay-per-call teams. It gives you real-time reporting, intelligent call routing, and fully customizable call flows backed by global telecom access in more than 60 countries. With enterprise-grade reliability, a powerful API, and no contracts or setup fees, Ringba has become a go-to platform for performance marketers worldwide. To learn more and to sign up, check out the link in the description below. Get goated and let's fucking go. I was listening to an audiobook yesterday. It's like The Psychology of Money, and he was talking about the most successful investors or people who built wealth. Most people would think short term, next month, maybe year out for the furthest, but you want to think in decades, you said, which sounds freaking crazy, right? But, and you reverse engineer, if you're going to think 20, 30 years or like 10 years, like you said, okay, so year 1, what's going to happen? Year 2, year 3, and then it makes you, instead of, you're not as reactive, right? I think you become more proactive is what happens because, I've been there and I know that when you start a company, it's damn, especially in the beginning, like every single dollar counts, right? And then every project, every client, every single thing you live and die off then your next, survival is what it comes down to. But then you go from survival to how do I thrive? So survive, thrive, and grow from there and put process. So sounds like that's what you've done, which is it's my hats off to you because I know it's not easy, and I'm not a roofer, but I've seen what Ed's dealing with and it's a lot, right? There's a lot of moving parts and you're dealing like personnel. So you need to be organized, I think, and to think long term. So yeah, hats off to you for making that happen.
Thanks. There's a lot in what you just said when you live and die on that next sale. There's business ownership is just genuinely not for everyone,
Mhm.
frankly. When I told my wife, this was as an interesting day, Dave. I came home and I was like, hey, some promises weren't kind of fulfilled with this previous employer. And I'm not talking about small promises. There was some pretty sizable issues that were taking place that I was just like not okay with. Morally, and then in my growth trajectory, I just didn't appropriate. It just wasn't going to work out. So I said, I knew I was going to make a change. But then when I said, "Hey, hun, I'm going to start a roofing company," basically what I told her is, we're jumping into this like pit that we don't know anything about, and we're just going to have to figure it out. And I mean, I'll just never forget. She was so supportive and helpful. I mean, it's so, I'm just glad I had her. Wouldn't have been able to do it without her. She, she was right there next to me, man, whole time. And, yeah, you nailed it. You live and die on that next sale. I remember we were, um, probably the third roof in, okay? And I'm wrapping up roof 2, and we got roof 3, and there was nothing in the front end of our that was it. If I finished the third roof, that was it. And I just remember going, "Well, shit, I gotta get out there and get something done." So I took that third roof, and I got about halfway through it, left my crew running, two guys on that roof because we were just babies at that time. And I had like 3 guys on the roof working with me. It was a lot of work. And I left for half the day, and I drummed up some work, and I'd sold 5 more that day. And keep in mind, we're still year 1. We just hit a hailstorm. So 5 sales in a day might sound like, yeah, bullshit, dude. You did not sell 5 roofs a day. No, I really did. And the way I did it is I went to my neighbor's house. I was like, "Hey, we're roofing this house over here. You guys got hit by the same storm. Do you want us to roof your house too?" And so we did that. And I mean, within that same kind of neighborhood, I got 5 sales in the end of that day. And I backlogged that week and the following week, and I was like, "Holy cow, 5 roofs with 3 guys." I don't know if you've ever roofed, Dave, but that's a lot of work. That's a month of work. I'm sitting there going, "Man, we gotta speed this sucker up." So I had to hire more guys, had to train them up, had to teach them how to roof. But in the meantime, I had to also sell, right? Got to bring money in, got to feed the kids. Yeah, I look back on that and the immense amount of gratitude for my beautiful wife, Rachel. I just can't imagine having, I wouldn't have been able to do it without her. She just the only reason why I got there. That's it.
Yeah, beautiful story. I have a similar story. My wife, we weren't married at the time, but yeah, I started my company as a side hustle, and she'd be there late with me. I'd be making phone calls. She'd help me get organized, and it's like those little things that help, right? And then
Yeah.
those little things, but they seem little, but they're big because without those things, it's like the glue that won't get you to where you're at. Year 2, 3, 5 years later. But yeah, you made me take a trip down memory lane, man. Good memories,
Yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah. She was my first bookkeeper, right? Even though we didn't know how to do that. I was like, "Hey, parent, we're supposed to like keep receipts and stuff, right?" And I heard of this thing called QuickBooks, so we'll use that. And so then she's like, "I don't know anything about that." I'm like, "Well, I mean, I'm out there. Can you do that?" And she did it. And I'm like, "Man, Dave, yeah, we wouldn't be anywhere we are without my number one." So
Yeah.
she's amazing.
That's great. You remind me, with us, man, I went in, I'd be, we had all these people, they owe us money for leads and supposed to invoice them every week. They wouldn't get invoiced for like a month and a half later. I'm like, where the hell's my money? Oh, this guy owes 10, this guy owes 15, this guy owes 5. I'm like, oh, there's a lot of money floating out there, right? So that's when I realized I called my brother-in-law who was a bookkeeper. I'm like, bro, listen, I need help, man. I'll pay you. We'll come up with a deal. Let's just figure this out, man. Adding him was such a big for cash flow purposes, right? But that's what happens. You're running like a rabbit with your head cut off. You're thinking about survival, cutting deals, doing this, and then like I wasn't even collecting money, man. Luckily, I didn't get burned by anybody. But those are the things that add up, right? It's just crazy.
A lot of that, Dave, you had to believe you could do it, right?
Exactly.
I mean, it seems super cliche, but you have to double down on your own willpower, your own grit. I mean, if anyone's gonna do it, it's you. No one's gonna do it for you. No one's gonna go make those calls for you. And dude, there's been times, yeah, I've been down like, dude, when that first snowstorm, like I'm not kidding when I say it was like a foot and a half of snow hit in like, I don't know, 48 hours. It was a wild snowstorm, and I had a backlog, but it was halted, immediately halted. That next day I had 5 clients call me for their money back. And I'm like sitting there going, dude, I only had 20 clients to begin with.
Yeah.
25% of my clients call back for their money. You look at that from a business perspective. If what do you do, Dave? What do you do? So, I sat there and I was really just like, holy shit, I'm gonna write, I think it was like, I'm gonna write $30,000 tomorrow to these people with an account that says, I don't know, 40 or whatever, 10 left, buy materials. And, and as a young company, uh, trying to grow, it's just, humbling. As we continued, we collected, final checks from other clients that like you just said, it delays. And when you're talking about that in a cash flow situation, meanwhile, you got to hire someone for it. It's a wild game because you're like, hey, I'm about to hire this guy and I haven't collected on the last 10 and I just had 5 ask for the money back and I gotta go sell. So that day, I mean, trudging through the snow, I went to a property management company in Jackson Hole, Wyoming and said, hey, that was a lot of snow, right? And they're like, yeah, do you want to come and take it off our roofs? And I'm like, you better believe it. And Dave, I mean, I'm gonna go religious and say that look, if it weren't for prayer, goal setting, and some action of faith, there would be no way we would be where we're at right now. And yeah, hard work and the depths of that day and many days since have been wild. And probably some of the best advice I ever received was don't pray for more opportunities, pray that your shoulders are broader to handle the
Mm.
burdens that you can take.
Being in business in general, it's not for everybody, right? That's why the economy is what it is. You have, I forget, I don't even know what I should know this, but X amount of people are business owners, right? And out of that X amount, only, freaking 3 to 5% become successful. There's X amount that stay in business after 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it may be. So again, there's a lot. Again, I feel there's a gold rush with roofing, home improvement. Who shouldn't, if someone's looking at the money, right? And maybe that's the first process. And don't look at the money, right? Look at the process, or whatever. But right? Maybe I'm answering my own question. But who 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 should get into it, right? And who should not get into it?
First thing, if you're looking for a labor project, roofing is one of the hardest labor jobs in the construction industry. And people can have their opinions about that, but it's true. I mean, it's hot as balls on a roof. It's heavy. It's a lot of work. It's steep. You can't be scared of heights. Like it's a lot. So if you're looking at it from a labor perspective, it is the highest paid labor job. Not highest, excuse me, one of the highest, excuse me, let me clarify that. One of the highest paid labor jobs and incredibly rewarding. I mean, you spend a lot of time with good men on the roof, working hard and getting a lot of work done. So there is that side of it. So if you're looking at it from a labor perspective, it is a high paid job, but you have to have grit. If you're looking at it from a high money aspect, less labor, high money aspect, I mean, there's two ways you can look at it. You can you can take on all of the liability of potentially leaking every single roof you tear off and gain some solid rewards on the income of owning a business, or you can just sell for a roofing company and make a solid amount of income with almost none of the liability. So, I there's definitely different avenues to this equation. There's a third avenue too. I mean, my employees are paid well, and we do that intentionally to make sure that they not only perform well for us, but also I just believe in providing opportunities for others to grow. My dad told me that there's two reasons why you have money, and it's to bless your life and to bless the lives of others.
Mm.
And so that's, if you're rich, it's probably to bless the lives of others. So if you can spread that, they'll do more for you. But I mean, a lot of like 4 or 5 of my reps this year are going to be pulling in just under 150,000 this year,
Nice.
and then there's a couple that are going to be pulling in just under two, and and to be able to provide that for them, I freaking love that. I just watched one of my reps. He just bought a brand new freaking truck and it is gorgeous, and that just brings him happiness. And I know that sounds maybe a little shallow, right? It's just a truck. Who gives a shit? But to see that where he came from to where he's at now, I mean, we should interview him. He's awesome. But his name is Alex, and let's get him, Alex. I mean, yeah, let's do it. He was a flat worker, and he'd done flat work for like 40 years, dude. He's 57, and dude, he made more this year than he's ever made in a year this year, and he didn't have to break his back to do it. And dude, he just loves that, and he worked his ass off for it. And I will say this, like, look, don't expect to come and do a roofing sales job and have it be, butterflies and daisies. It's hard work, and you got to be paying attention, or you're not going to get anywhere. But the harder the work, the better the reward. It's impressive to see how these guys what they come away with, and what results they get. It's pretty awesome. So who should start a roofing company? I'm not gonna say everyone can start a roofing company. I genuinely don't believe that's true. I think that if you're gonna start a roofing company, you should have some industry knowledge. If you don't have industry knowledge, it doesn't take a whole lot of time. 5 years is not a long time, right? Right, Dave? Is
No.
5 years really that? It's not. So go, if you're young and still got a lot of work, and even if you're, I don't know, go find a trade, go learn it, go to school in that company, learn what that company does. And you're going to go, and you might get a less than satisfiable wage for you for 3 to 5 years, right? You're going to take that satisfiable, not unsatisfiable wage, and you're going to go out and do it on your own. And then you're going to realize how, like what we just talked about, Dave, where, there's those days where you're just like, holy cow, I can't even that's such a felt experience. I can't even explain how that feels. You go to your wife and you're like, honey, I don't know if we got money for this next month. It's wild experience, right? And you go, but I'm going to go out and work my ass off because you need your nails, because you need your life, you need your world. I'm going to make this happen for you. And I think that's a pretty key indicating differential between people that should and people that shouldn't. Like, does waking up in the morning, do you wake up and you go, dude, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna accomplish my goals. So a lot of drive, you have to have a lot of drive, you have to have a lot of grit, you have to have a lot of patience, and a lot of stoicism, I think, is my favorite word for that. Probably you gotta be pretty stoic. But that's not to say that someone can't grow into that kind of person. I think that we all can. Might take some work, but you gotta be willing to work.
Wow, fantastic. Yeah, fantastic answer. And I'm glad you touch upon what the money that can be made. And again, it depends on in territories, right? In certain parts of the nation, that number might be a little bit lower. Other places might be higher, in terms of what the average income. But when you mention the average income, it's in roofing is one of the highest paid professions, labor professions. What is the average income for a roofer?
Man, skilled roofers, I mean, it can get as low as anyone else. Like, you can have a guy that's picking up trash and making pennies, but a skilled roofer can be making easily 40 an hour, 50 an hour.
Mhm.
They can be making, I mean, you'd start them somewhere in the 20s, 25. But I think a lot of business owners do themselves a big disservice. They're like, how cheap can I get this guy to work for me? And it's like, no, dude, you need to be giving this man the ability to pay for his family's, needs. This man isn't just a slave to labor for you. That's not what this is about. So, we're looking for that guy that's actually asking for 25, 35, $40 an hour, that's saying, "Hey, I'm the goat. I'm going to freaking kill it, and you won't have to think about it ever again. I'm going to be on that roof from day in, day out." We're looking for that sales rep that says, "Hey, I'm going to," it's funny. I love it when the sales rep's like, "Hey, I want a brand new Maserati.
Mm.
I want to live in a mansion. I want to be sitting on a beach sipping water out of a coconut every winter." That's it might seem like, again, it might seem cliche, but there's driven aspects of who that person is that says that they wake up every morning and they're like, I'm not okay with mediocrity. We're going to get something done today. Right. And so there's all kinds of ways to make money in the roofing industry, and in really in the construction industry in general. You just got to go out and work for it. You got to go get it.
Yeah, I think I could be wrong on this, but I think the average median income in America, and again, depends on where you live, what state, all that kind of stuff, right? I think it's somewhere in the 65,000. But when you have the ability with no experience or maybe some grit, right? And you can get into an industry where you can clear 100, up to 200,000. I think that's amazing. And you can do double. Yeah. Yeah. You can do double what other people are doing. And then You get the education, right? Where if you want to try it on your own, you work somewhere 3, 5 years, you save some money, then you try to go on your own or whatever. I mean, you have that opportunity, but again, business is not for everybody, and that's fine, right? 97% of people, maybe more, aren't equipped to run a business. It's just not them, and there's some people that know that, right? So if you can provide a good living for your family, make 150, 200,000 plus, maybe, be a superstar and develop a team and make even more. But that's what I like about this industry is that I feel like we're such a service industry right now. There's a lot of retail jobs and stuff like that, employ a lot of people, and nothing against that, but they just don't pay. And the pay sucks, right? So, and that's why people are living paycheck to paycheck. But when you get an industry like this, where if you got the hunger, you got the mentality, and you're willing to listen and learn, you could provide a nice living. You could save money, put it away, invest, and you can have those vacations, be on the beach in Coconut, like you said, right? And buy a nice house, buy that nice car. So it's there for you. So they say like the American dream, right? The American dream is still alive. It's just you got to look. People are looking the wrong places. I feel like they're looking at these people on Instagram doing this, doing that. And there's pockets. But you got to look and find those pockets, right? Is what it comes down to.
It's true. I mean, you don't even have to sell that much. Like I was talking to a guy that just started roofing a couple days ago, and not a couple days, maybe a couple months ago, and he sold 2 roofs. I mean, last month he cleared like 20 grand just himself. And I'm talking like he doesn't have an office. He and a couple dudes, he pays them decent wages, goes, sells 2 roofs, comes home with 20 grand. Times that by 12, 200,000 a year, 240.
Yeah, $250,000.
You know, it's actually not as hard as you might think. The thing is though, Dave, though, is that guy has to consciously go, you know what, 5 in the morning, I'm going to wake up. Cause if you're a roofer, you're not waking up late. It's just true. Cause you know that sun gets hot and then that roof's impossible to roof. It's hot. So you're going to be up butt crack of dawn and you're going to go out and you're going to work your ass off. You're going to have, fiberglass slivers in your freaking armpits and all in your shirt and all that, and you're gonna smell like tar, and you're gonna come home beat, whipped out of your mind, exhausted, and probably eat a taco that day, and then freaking go back the next day and do the same thing. You'll do that, and then come home $20,000, for a month, and then it snows in December, so take your earnings and go to Hawaii. Like pretty pretty good gig.
Love it. Great stuff. All right, this has been a great interview, by the way. I really appreciate the time, and you've gone deep, which I think a lot of people get a lot of value out of this. So let's switch the hats back to a business owner. And I touched upon this before briefly, and we talked about this. I think we were at SolarCon, we were talking about it, right? So uh everything's expensive right now, no matter what state you live in. The cost of everything's to the roof, right? So obviously, when you're working, you have supplies, you have, you got health insurance, you got workman's comp. There's so many different these so many expenses that can cut you up, right? So we talked about how you've been using you've been working with Roofs in a Box to cut costs, right? And how that's helped you out, and that may have been initially some people. These are you've used virtual staffing, you're outsourcing. Sometimes people feel like they lose control doing that, but how has that benefited you, and how's that helped keep you lean?
Well, I mean, it kind of goes back to like, are you looking at the problem right here, or are you looking 10 years down the road? And I mean, you can say, well, they're worried about losing control, right? Well, if you're losing control, are you delegating or are you abdicating? So are you taking your crown and giving it to someone else and then not expecting them to call you back? Or are you actually delegating and requiring a return and report back and forth between the person that you're delegating to? I think a lot of people, they're worried about losing control, and that's the literal reason why they have a detrimental situation to their growth. So if they can focus on momentum and what gets them there. But yeah, I mean, we've had we have a couple of Roofs in a Box employees that we love dearly. They're amazing, and they do a lot of hard work for us, and multiply our efforts for a much less price, and still give them a pretty amazing situation where they live. And I think that's probably my favorite part about Roofs in a Box is it gives gainful employment for them in their circumstance and us for ours, you know? So yeah, I would say Roofs in a Box has been a big component to multiplying our efforts. I also think though, like, it's incredibly likely that the majority of technician type individuals that are in the trades don't understand how to run a business, right? I mean, so I would highly recommend go find a business consultant. Don't just buy any business consultant. Do your freaking homework. figure out what you need to learn, and then go spend the money. You're gonna go buy a guru. It's gonna suck ass. You're gonna spend somewhere more than $20,000 in a year for this. You know what I mean? And they're gonna teach you in a fast paced environment how to do your business, how to run it right. And I was lucky. I mean, Dave, I came from a company that taught me how to run business for 5 years. So I can't say that all of the unfinished promises and all the other shit that I went through for that company did not gain for me. I mean, I was talking to my dad about it right after I quit, and I was kind of bitter about all the stuff that went down. And he's like, you know what, Cody, you learned a lot. I mean, look at where you were when you started. You were a tech when you started. You ended as a general manager. I mean, you know how to run a company now. And so I went through 5 years of some serious fast paced learning on how to run a company. And not everyone has that opportunity. There's a lot of roofing companies, there's a lot of businesses out there that would actually give you that opportunity, but you'd have to be upfront with them as an employee, and just say, hey, I'm looking to learn every single thing I can about a service industry. And they'll fast track you straight to the top if you are savvy enough and if you work hard enough and if you actually know what the hell you're doing. But I was a savvy kid and they did that exactly for me. So I would say go find a business guru that can teach you something pretty quick, give you, the basics on how to run a service industry. That'll be a fast way to grow your business. I mean, um, I think it's important. Make sure you're spending enough time learning about your business as much as you are working in your business. You gotta know everything about your business, so you might as well start learning about it too. So what were you gonna say to it?
Yeah, no, that's fantastic advice. I think people get scared to. I mean, you mentioned if you want to get an expert can fast track you, collapse timeframes for you, right? Someone that's been around the block. I guess the only concern is
Yeah.
that, and it's going to cost you money. Like you said, it can cost anywhere from 5 grand to 25 grand, maybe up to 50 grand. But it's really an ROI. But what's your advice for finding the right experts? 'Cause obviously, there's a lot of charlatans out there, especially in this day and age. People that say they got the credentials but don't. So, how do you find the right one so you're not just throwing money out the window?
I mean, we use CCN.
Mhm.
I would recommend them. Um, I think the Grant Cardone's 10X has got a good deal going. I think it's interesting. I think there's a lot of hype behind it. I think if they're willing to let you like literally call their references and ask, that's probably who I would let. That's who I would go with.
I'm glad that you mentioned the part about how you got to reinvest in yourself and you weren't afraid to hire a coach. And I think a lot of business owners get nervous. They get like sticker shock when they see how much some of these coaches cost. I mean, you're talking about you're going to invest. I shouldn't say spend. You're going to invest anywhere from 5,000 to 20,000, 25,000, maybe in some cases 50,000 or more. And I tell you one thing: the most successful people I know, they've invested hundreds of thousands, not millions, into masterminds and personal coaching, that things of that nature. But with that being said, how do you protect yourself from being fooled by a charlatan? Because you can go on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. There's a lot of people who are selling courses for 10 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand, and they don't have the track record. They don't have the credentials, or it's kind of BS, right? So what kind of courses do you recommend to fast track? Because you've done it. You say you spent some good money on some stuff. So what's been successful? What's been good for you?
That's a relatively difficult question because I mean a lot of those cheaper kind of not, I don't know, fly by night type courses are still going to probably have the same pitch basically, which is listen to what I have to say and do it and you'll be successful. You know what I mean? So I guess it's kind of difficult to differentiate between them, but I mean, I would just stick to the mainstreams. I mean, you got several gurus that are doing a pretty good job. We use CCN. We love CCN. They're not terribly
So
expensive.
who's
They
CCN?
for
What does that stand for?
CCN is just called the Certified Contractors Network.
Okay.
They're not like ultra flashy or anything, but they're really pretty good. Then I'm sure Grant Cardone's is pretty good. I'm sure Alex Hormozy's is pretty good as well. I mean, there's a bunch of them, and honestly, you're gonna see them on your feed and Facebook and stuff. Like, I mean, they're gonna hit you like every day. So just click on one and see what it is, and talk to the rep that's trying to sell it to you, and ask and see what it is that's interesting to you. There's usually a guarantee attached to it. Like if you don't get something out of this in whatever amount of time or whatever, if it doesn't double your income or whatever, I don't freaking know. They usually have there's usually some kind of guarantee attached to them. And then if you genuinely didn't feel like you got anything from it, I guess you can back it up against that guarantee. Right. But I mean, I don't know if I've actually had situations where we call a guru and I didn't actually gain something from it. I've been through two or three now, and they've been pretty good. They've been pretty good, Dave. I mean, there's always, like I just said, they're always going to try to pitch to you. There's going to be that moment where you get to the end of the seminar and they're like, now you buy this thing and we're going to teach you more. And you're like, great. And with, and then you buy that thing and you go to another seminar, and sure, yeah, like that's how they make their money. I mean, you get what you pay for. So, I mean, that's I think my short answer to it is just do your research, look into it. You're gonna see them hit your feed every day. It's not a secret. There's a guru in every field. YouTube University is pretty good, but unless you know the topics to study, you're kind of stuck in your own mind, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think that was great advice. And CCN, I think, is a great. Like you said they're not flashy, but you don't need flash sometimes. You just need the substance, right? And people have done it. So I think that's yeah, and I think that was good advice. So thank you for that. And we covered a lot.
Yeah,
We
we just got. No, you're good. We just got back from their business roadmap to success seminar, which is a class. It's a 3-day class where we go through our pro forma, we go through our financials, plan all of 2026. We do that twice a year, and I mean, it's just amazing to see how copacetic the group, our crew gets after we go to those classes. I mean, there's only so much that I can teach them that helps them understand my vision, my goals, and expectations. You know what I mean? But when you take them to a class and they're sitting down for 3 days while they listen to a professor basically talk to them about the things that I'm trying to get them to do, it usually ends up pretty successful.
yeah.
So, what you were going to say, so I'm sorry, I cut you.
No, I thought no, that's great advice. And you mentioned pro formas. I wonder how many people have to know what on here. Listen, what a pro forma is. I really didn't know anything. I heard about it, but Ed had told me about pro forma. So yeah, these things that you gotta learn. It's all part of business, and you gotta surround yourself with people who've done it, who've been there. Because it's to me, coaching and masterminds and networking and talking to someone that's been there, that's older than you, that has more experience, has had more failures, successes and failures, and they're not afraid to tell you the failures. It just it's a cheat code is what it comes down to, right? And if someone's willing to teach you, it's not all glamorous. And we talked about it on this interview. I talk about it all the time that damn this isn't glamorous. It's not for everybody. You're gonna have
Right.
you're gonna be like waking up in 3 in the morning, like how the hell am I gonna get through this month? How am I gonna get through this week, right? So things like that happen, but you got to go through it to get on the other side, right? And when you work with people like that, they can really help you accelerate time frames and collapse time frames. So I'm glad you mentioned all of that.
Can give you the secret sauce. You're right. Exactly.
100%. And what I was going to say before is that you listen. I think before we got on this podcast, I said to you, hey, we're going to do probably 25, 30 minutes. I think we average like 30 minutes when we do podcasts. Recently, they've been around 25 minutes, but this was flowing so good. I didn't want to stop it. I think you dropped so many nuggets, so much valuable, useful information. You were vulnerable. We talked about, the good, the bad, the ugly. So, and a lot of good advice here, a lot of good tips. So really appreciate it. Was there anything we didn't cover that you want to cover before we wrap up here?
No, I mean, I think we did cover a lot, and I think the biggest proponents to our growth's been that you got to set goals. If you don't have a goal and vision in mind, you're not going to grow. You got to hire people with growth mindsets. You got to get the people without growth mindsets out. Get them out. Spend less time with them. And then third, if the wheel's already created, freaking copy the wheel.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
find a company you like, get online, freaking copy their website. And then look at their unique value propositions and copy them for now until you find your own. Not actually that hard. It's pretty simple. But then pray to God, work hard, have faith, and execute what you're asking for, and He'll give it to you. Right?
I love you. You covered so many like the practical business elements, the psychological, the spiritual. You covered so much here. So this was a great interview. I really enjoyed myself with you. Again, I'm not a roofer. I've worked with roofer. I sell leads, but hearing this and I love what it does. I feel like the backbone of American society, right? American economy, and that high paying jobs. They're here to stay. And as long as you got the gut, the gumption, the grit, right? You can make a lot of money. You can add value. And it's a good product at the end of the day. So this has been a great interview. I can't wait to air this. How can people find out more about you? If someone enjoyed this and they want to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Well, our website, ccxroofing.com. You can look that up. You can call us 208-240-2593. I mean, we're pretty easy folks. I mean, we come from a small town. You're gonna get pretty small town vibes. So
Guys, Cody Clinger, great interview. Can't wait to drop it. Success leads clues. He dropped a lot of knowledge, whether you're in roofing or not. You're thinking about getting involved, or you're just a general businessman, like looking to scale your business. A lot of good information. Hit him up, subscribe, like, comment. Helps us keep growing our channel here. We're going to keep bringing good value to you guys. We appreciate it. Thanks, Cody. Have a great day. Let's freaking go, man. Your network is your net worth. We got a fucking crazy network of people. I'm not talking about your average motherfucker. I'm talking about people doing $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a day in ad spend. People that have made billions of dollars in sales. People have exited their companies for about $1 billion. We hit 100 episodes. Guess what? We're about to take shit to the next level. So you want to be part of it? Subscribe right now. Remember, no money, no honey. Let's fucking go.